enjoying my time, I watched Coming to America,
Whoa, very nice.
a
Not.
very new film
Oh
because
wait, it
it's the
came out.
second one. Yeah,
Oh,
it's out, buddy. It's there
oh,
to
that's
watch.
amazing. Eddie
It's
Murphy. God damn,
yeah.
that guy's old.
Uh, it's a little
How old is he?
difficult to watch. It's like it's one of those movies that is both like winking at the
He's
audience
59.
that it's definitely like over simplifying things, but I don't know. It's like
Well, the
it's
reason the first one was good is because of the time it came out, right? It was good
yeah,
because of the era it came out in.
yeah,
You can't
and
capture it twice.
you definitely feel the update, like the women who are the royal bathers, for instance, their tits aren't out. They're covered up. And there's a scene with royal
What's wrong with
bathers in which
tits?
one of the royal bathers is a man. Well, it's a different era, right? It's a different age. There's
I
nothing
mean,
wrong with that. It's just
there's
a
also nothing
different.
wrong with tits.
I think they're trying to say that this movie is slightly different than the previous version.
That's fine. That's also fine.
Yeah,
It's probably
I
for the
thought
better.
some of the costumes were great, incorporated a lot of different, but a lot of African. Oh, sorry. Tired. Patterns and definitely some cultural symbolism. And it was very pretty in terms of the costuming, bright colors, great music, some spectacular performances by several actors, including James Earl Jones, delivering what Laura said was the best version of a man dying of all time. And
Okay.
I thought it had some funny moments. I thought it also had some meh moments. I thought probably Coming to America was a better movie overall, but it's one of those movies, and we can get into it in a non-spoiler or in a spoiler way later, but it it finds it difficult to straddle the line between like obvious parody on people's stereotype and stereotyping itself. So
Okay, well,
it's a complicated movie. You can't obviously watch it and take everything for granted. Like this is how
honestly, that
people
was
see Africa, etc. But like,
that was the funny part of the movie, though, right? Wouldn't you say?
yeah, that's definitely where some of the humor comes from. It's
And
uh,
I don't know. I guess right. I mean, I always think of people who are or like stand-up comedians who are not white.
yeah,
I always say, or like from Africa, or like specifically Trevor Noah is a good reference, right?
he's
I
in the
always
movie.
think, is he? That's awesome. That's actually really cool. So I always think of him, particularly with the Daily Show appearance. I mean, he's the anchor of the Daily
Host.
Show, the host, sure. I always think of him, and when any sort of ethnic joke is made, like he'll throw in his African accent for when he's making fun of his mom or something, right?
Hmm.
And I always think it's like always the same joke too. So I just always think of that, and I want to know how he feels about that sort of joke, and whether or not it's like, is this actually funny to you, and do you feel like it's just a cheap laugh? Because I think it's funny, but I also am not African, so I don't know if it's funny at all to him. You know what I mean? It's like you're
Yeah.
making like, oh, he's the South African guy, so he's got to make the South African joke. I don't maybe that's or not the he can make the African jokes, so it's like, is that a thing? I don't know. Or do you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
I do understand.
Does
it's
he
like
feel
both
like it's a
playing to
cheap
the
laugh?
stereotype, or like the angle of comedy, but it also speaks to your experience. So it's a difficult blend of like, is this, am I being genuine to myself, or is this like a cheap laugh generated
Yeah, or like
for
literally
from not
any
working hard?
Asian stand-up
Did
comedian
you
in America.
did you think that way when Jon Stewart did his Jewish like Jewish New Yorker voice, or like a Jewish voice?
Uh, I mean, I was a lot younger then, right? Jon Stewart hasn't
Yeah,
been alive for like 10 years. He just
he's
shows up
dead.
on the Daily Show, or sorry, the Colbert Show when he comes out from under his desk, which is actually hilarious.
It is
I
funny.
I liked it because it was New Yorker. I don't think it was. I mean, I liked the stuff, the bits he did when, like, the pizza bit about the
Oh my
Chicago
god,
pizza. That's hilarious, man.
it is funny.
When it's bits about New York, I think that's hilarious. But also, I guess in a way, maybe that's a cheap joke too. But I don't think that's too much of a cheap joke. I just always want to know. I'm not saying it's a cheap joke or anything, what Trevor Noah does. I just want to know if he thinks it's a cheap joke. You know what I
Fair
mean?
enough. Yeah.
And I'm totally happy if he's happy doing that. But if he feels like he has to do that in order to get a laugh, then, or like, cuz he doesn't write all his stuff, right?
Yeah,
The
there's a team of
Daily Show
writers.
people write for him. So if, I mean, he would probably be able to say, no, I'm not going to say that because he's famous enough and that type of stuff. But I just want to know if he goes through with some of his jokes and doesn't necessarily like them. That's all I wanted to say. But,
Yeah,
and
I
like,
think on a
relevancy.
much less professional level, I find it not problematic, but I very much pick and choose the moments when I'll do a Russian accent. You know?
We like all the Russian accents, don't worry. Captain Video definitely does.
Do you feel weird about doing like a Chinese accent?
No, I'm totally happy to make fun of anyone who's Chinese. Um, it's within me. It's just hilarious. I think it's super funny. I've not really come. I'm usually pretty lighthearted about that stuff. I'm not I don't get easily offended when someone else, even if someone's not Asian, makes a joke about Asian people. Even that stuff with the I don't want to jump too far ahead, but the I guess Dr. Seuss got canceled, right, on Twitter. Not really, but it's because people didn't really understand what was going on. Like they stopped publishing
Six books.
6 books, of which one of them was one of my favorites, actually, Scrambled Egg Super. And I think that's the one with the Asian imagery that they depicted, and that's why they withdrew it. I'm not sure if that's the one, but they had Chinamen running. I didn't think it was too offensive. It's just like they called them Chinamen and they were running. I don't know. It's not like they're. I don't know. I just feel like some people jump too far ahead. If I say, I don't know, like I just feel like people jump to conclusions too quickly and say, oh, that's racist immediately if there's any sort of reference of like a Chinese person, like, oh God forbid, like, wow, they exist. So I don't, or like or it's a black person. I mean, obviously there's ways to depict them that, like, African American people that reference things in the past, and how they were thought to be, like with the fat lips and all that stuff, right? And like the black skin and like that stuff is racist, right?
Yeah.
So depicting them that way is racist.
Stuff.
And yes, depicting Chinese people with buck teeth and that type of stuff is racist, because you're saying that all Chinese people have that sort of structure with their teeth. But just having, I don't know, I feel like sometimes people jump way too far in advance to conclusions to say something's racist when I honestly don't think it's. But I guess I'm not an artist or anything related to that. So I don't know. I have no specific examples right now, so what I'm saying is not really relevant. But
well, like I was saying, I was discussing Coming to America.
Yeah.
With a colleague, and they didn't like it at all. They thought the costumes looked cheap. No, the second one.
Okay.
They liked the first one, but they thought that the second one was like it looked cheap.
Costumes?
Terrible production design. It was bad, and I was like, well, maybe it wasn't meant for you. Maybe it was meant for like a black audience that would understand some of the subtleties. Like when we had our discussion of Crazy Rich Asians, and there was like that mahjong scene, and I was fucking lost. But I'm guessing people who play mahjong, particularly, it's a very popular Asian game.
Jewish people or Asians.
Yeah,
there are two people who understood that scene.
You know, maybe it's some coded language that I don't fully understand, and they were like, "That's racist." I was like, "How is it racist for?"
Asian
for me
people to play
think that, well, no, this was about Coming to America, but for black artists to make a movie that has like a greater appeal to black people, that's not racist. That is a complete misunderstanding of the term racism. Like the Tuskegee experiment, that's racism. Blocking redlining housing so that black wealth doesn't accrue generationally. Yeah, that's racism. Like there are microaggressions and things like that also constitute probably racism. I can't think of direct examples now, but there are plenty that other people can fill in the dots. But people making a movie that slants towards an audience that they can speak to is not racism. And it was interesting because like Coming to America, it was filmed at Tyler Perry's studio in Atlanta.
Yeah. So
that's, a black filmmaker created this studio that they can make movies in. Eddie Murphy made this movie with a predominantly black cast. And, I think it has representation. It has storytelling that is linked to a different experience. I think it's good to have those stories and those movies, even if it falls flat in a lot of different places.
Yeah, because there's plenty of you can't. Right, it's just like there's those types of movies just aren't getting funded to be made at enough frequency, so that, like, what I'm saying is you have a whole sample size of movies with just white people in it, right? And so surely there's some that are really great and some that are really shitty, but there's only two in recent years, I guess, of an entirely black cast. Is like Black Panther in this movie, I guess. I don't know. I don't know who's in this new movie, but and then those are the two that I can think of off the top of my head. Maybe there are more. I don't know, but so it's all right for this type of movie to fall flat, like you're saying.
And I'm not saying that it was the whole way through.
Not that it did.
I'm saying it's a movie. There are points that are bad. There are points that are good. Like, you'll find it. I thought the costuming was great. I thought the like disparaging interpretation of Africa was really hard to like get over. But it's clearly, I don't know, it's like this mix of like, it's clearly so wrong that it's making fun of that view.
Oh, good.
Right? But it's also like that view is still very prevalent there, and how many people are going to interpret it as like that's real. So on some levels it's like people could get offended. On other level it's like people could get offended because they think other people will find it offensive. And I think that's problematic.
Right. Yeah. Did you find it funny? Was it a funny movie?
There were moments that were funny. I mean, it wasn't funny all the way through. I don't think it was as funny as the original.
And then also, I just lost that question. It's not important. Did the first one take place in New York City?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Did this one also take place in New York City?
No.
Damn.
Almost not at all.
The price for filming in New York City since the last one was filmed has skyrocketed. So they couldn't afford it anymore. Where does it take place?
In
New York City.
No, they go to New York City, but it takes place mostly in Zamunda, the African country the fake African country where Eddie Murphy is from. Eddie Murphy's character.
So it's like as if they're going back.
Yeah, so they go to America. It's the basic premise that you unlock in like the first 10 minutes of the film. Mm-hmm. Slight spoiler here. Skip ahead 60 seconds. Eddie Murphy had a son that he didn't know about in America who would be the rightful heir to Zamunda. So he goes to New York City, takes that guy out of Queens, and brings him to Zamunda. And it's like funny. A fish out of water story.
That's a funny premise. I like that.
As well as dealing with like the patriarchy and women's right to rule and representation in a very like blunt and not very engaging way. But, you know, whatever. It's a movie. It doesn't always have to be like Moonlight.
Right. How did you watch it? I'm just curious.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Sick.
It's an Amazon movie.
Oh.
So.
Oh. How do you feel about that? An Amazon movie.
As a person who makes movies that are put out on Hulu, I would say streaming platforms are excellent. And a diversity thereof would be great as well.
Very cool.
Let's make sure to watch films on Hulu.
Yes. Don't forget to subscribe to Hulu, the greatest streaming platform of them all.